to another episode of Making It Happen. I'm Amanda Kaufman, and I'm all gussied up because I'm going to be headed to a summit for the next couple of days, and I'm pretty excited. Going to meet some new people, get a little more connected in the Dallas community, so I'm really stoked. Today, I want to share with you some of the strategies that work for me the very best in achieving some of my very most difficult goals. The very first thing is to acknowledge, understand, and embrace the difference between wishing things were different and setting intention to change them. For years, I wished that I was a healthier person. I wished that I didn't have so much extra weight. I wished I had more energy. I wished that I had better habits. I wished. And honestly, most goals do start as a wish. So I'm not saying, stop wishing. That would be terrible. Of course you should wish. But the difference between wishing and doing is really starting to get critical. And I don't mean critical in a judgy kind of a way, but critical in that just looking at it and saying, okay, well, if I wish to be a healthier person, then taking a critical eye and looking at, well, what am I doing today that is not in service of that goal? What am I doing today that is in service of that goal? And what has to change? And getting really specific. I always had a tendency to make a diving catch. I always had a tendency to be that person who would crush it and work all night and, crush it and do all the things because I had this extra effort and this extra intensity about how I was doing things. Now, there's nothing wrong with intensity, but if that is the only speed that you drive on, what happens is it's kind of like driving a car and hitting the NOS button. When you exhaust the NOS, right, it empties that tank and you have to, refill that tank. In terms of the longer evolving change, or what I would call kind of the state change goals, for example, I want to be a person who exercises. Well, that's kind of a state change, right? Because you're not going to hit that NOS button and, go and exercise. Or actually, really, if that's your habit, maybe you are going to do that. You're going to hit the NOS button and you're going to go to the gym for a week, maybe two, and you're going to put everything you have into fighting for that gym time. And then you get exhausted, depleted, you fall off the wagon, you go, oh my gosh, it didn't work again. I'm not going to try anymore. And, I'm super familiar with that cycle. So I hear you if you're kind of feeling like those kinds of state goals where you want to move from maybe an unhealthy lifestyle to a healthier lifestyle, that's a big adjustment and a change. So the very first thing is to get really clear on, well, what does that really mean? And I would say for a state change goal, I want to go on dates more often with my husband, or I want to have a healthier lifestyle, those kinds of goals, avoid the Herculean effort, avoid the NOS button effort, and instead get really critical about what are the little micro changes that I need to be more consistent about. No change is too small. I've got a coach that loves to remind me that small hinges swing big doors. And, it's in a different context, but I think it very much applies to what we're talking about here about lifestyle goals and kind of the state change goals is that the small change consistently applied over and over and over again is going to get you further onto the path than that huge NOS boost that completely depletes you, leaves you completely exhausted. Okay. I wanted to spend more quality time with my husband. Well, hoping that I will have free time to do that didn't really work out very well. or saying hey, the next time I have free time, I'm gonna, use it on my husband. And, that's not really a strategy. And it's not going to, what you're doing is you're relying on your memory to push you into that new conditioning. And you don't have to do that. You can actually say, hey, I'm gonna take this point in my week and I'm gonna make that all about living that goal. And I'm not gonna let other things come into that time. I'm going to use that time. And in my case with the marriage thing, we set up a Friday night date night. Well, to do that, I've got 4 kids, right? So there was some more strategy that had to go into play, because I knew, I'm like, I'm going to give my husband that time. So I need to make sure I have things in place to let me give him that time, that I'm not dividing my attention with other things. You know what I mean? So what you're doing is you're bringing this laser focus intentionality. You're getting away from multitasking, and you're getting away from depending on your memory to tell you that you to remind you to do something. And I'll just give you a really basic example as to why you don't want to leave it up to your memory. Have you ever been in a situation where you want to remember to buy milk, right? Or some kind of a grocery item that, you ran low on milk or toilet paper or something like that. And for some reason, your mind tells you that when you're in the middle of a business meeting or when you're in the shower, and you obviously can't do anything about it. But did you also notice that your brain doesn't go, hey, you're driving past a grocery store right now, pick up the thing? I mean, I can't tell you how many times in the past I've gone like, oh, gotta remember to pick up some milk, drive right past the grocery store, don't even think about it until, I'm already at home and I'm relaxed and everything else. And I go, oh man, I forgot, right? So just take that out of the equation. You don't have to forget. You can schedule it and you can be intentional about it if it's really all that important to you. The final thing is, in terms of being the most successful with bringing change into your life and having those goals that really just sort of shift everything in your life, is not to split your focus too much. So if you apply the last strategy that I talked about, where you're scheduling the things that you need to change, I've found the most success really bringing intentionality and scheduling to one thing at a time until I'm really confident that, this is feeling like I can sustain this habit, this ritual, this routine, whatever the thing is. So like, for example, an exercise routine. In 2017, I got much better about having a consistent exercise routine. Well, I really focused on having that exercise routine scheduled, that I was doing it consistently, that I was like, okay, yes, Wednesday and Friday mornings doing Orange Theory, Tuesdays, Thursdays going to work with my trainer, okay, yes, Monday's my rest day, okay, yes, that's feeling good. So now I'm thinking about, okay, maybe it's time to start adding yoga, right? Or maybe now it's time to start adding more of an intentional meal planning habit. So the idea is that you just get really comfortable with that small hinge swinging the door, that it's like, okay, I got this. I can be consistent. Now it's okay to add another thing. A mistake that I made several times in the past was I tried to change everything whole hog, on the same day, and just like have a new life on the next day. And the thing is that I don't know if like your brain short circuits because it's so dependent on your routines, or what happens there exactly. But the point is, you get very overwhelmed with all that change happening to you all at once. And what I found is that even with something like eating breakfast, back in 2016, I set a goal that I'm going to eat breakfast because I wanted to manage my blood sugar levels a lot more, keep them even is really the idea. Because what was happening was I'd skip breakfast, I'd be starving by the time it was lunchtime, make crappy decisions about what I was going to eat at lunch, and then I would continue to make crappy decisions about my food for the rest of the day. So the theory went, if I wasn't starving at breakfast, then maybe I would have the energy and the sugar levels and the mood to make that healthier choice at lunch. So when I started that goal, and I had that goal before, by the way, several times before, and it didn't work out. And part of it, I realized, was because I had all these requirements attached to eating breakfast. So it was like, I have to eat breakfast by this time, and it's got to have protein, and it's got to have the fruit sources, and it can't be like this and it has to be like that, and you know, I have to make sure it's really peaceful time, that you know, I'm not multitasking, I'm not you know, eating on my way to work, and so I had like this really perfect vision of what eating breakfast would be like for me. And of course, when I went to go and implement it, it was really overwhelming, and when one of the things didn't work out, I was very disappointed in my performance, and that led me to giving up on it. So what I did instead, and by the way, I have a thriving breakfast habit that looks a lot like that, but the first habit was have breakfast. And I eliminated all the other requirements. I'm like, just eat breakfast. Don't care what time, just that it's in the morning, right? And don't care what it is. There were days, okay, not kidding, I was traveling at the time, so you know, I'm staying in a hotel and working crazy hours with my project team at the time. There were days when I literally ate a chocolate chip cookie for breakfast, like total garbage. That I would have like a really sugary, not healthy, no protein, no vegetables, no fruits, kind of a breakfast existence. But my point was, it had to be food. It couldn't just be coffee, right? So I set like a couple of rules, and then I got really, really good at eating breakfast, even if it was a chocolate chip cookie. And when I got that good at it, then I started to add a requirement. There had to be some fruit every day for breakfast. Not fruit and protein in a sit-down meal and da-da-da-da-da. It was just, it had to have some fruit. So then I got really good at that. Then I added the protein requirement. Then I added the sit down and give yourself the space requirement, and so on and so forth. But I basically did it as a stepwise thing, that today when I sit down to have breakfast, it's really not a big deal, because I've just practiced every element of it and gotten really good at it. And now I have a new lifestyle habit. So I hope that these 3 strategies really serve you as you are crushing your 2018 goals and beyond, if you're watching this a little later. And my encouragement to you, and kind of a bonus 4th thing, is there's no such thing as falling off the wagon, right? What I mean by that is, like, obviously there's going to be blips, there's going to be interruptions, there's going to be things that throw you off your course. And you know, my point in saying there's no such thing as falling off the wagon is there is such a thing as getting interrupted, right? When we fall off the wagon, the mindset we typically have is, well, it's because I wasn't strong enough, and it's because I wasn't good enough, and it's because I wasn't smart enough. And we start hating on ourselves for having our crappy routines, and gosh, I'm never going to escape from it. Well, when you're in that mindset of, oh, here I go, fell off the wagon again, what you're going to do is you're not going to get back on the wagon, right? Or getting on the wagon, it feels like, oh, now the wagon's like down the road and I've got to run and catch up and get on the wagon. No. It was an interruption, and all you have to do is pick up again. That's all you have to do, is pick up again. If you can minimize that effort and just get away from this mindset of, oh, I fell off the wagon and now everything is garbage, right? Even if your interruption lasts for several days or weeks or whatever your reasons are, or however long that interruption is, you didn't fall off the wagon, you got interrupted. And it's just like when someone walks into your office, or, you know, you're having a conversation and your 4-year-old runs up to you and is like, mommy, mommy, mommy. He interrupts, right? I don't go, okay, well, I guess I can't have this conversation, right? You deal with the interruption and then you pick up and you keep going. And I think that mindset piece has been one of the most influential, impactful ways of approaching goals for me in the last year. That, you know, I kind of joke that I've had more change in the last 6 months than I have in the last 6 years, in large part due to that mindset. So kind of a bonus 4th thing, but I hope that it serves you, and I hope that you're having a really awesome week and you're out there crushing it. Take care.